Welcome to another tutorial video on Adobe Premiere Pro for beginners. In this video, I'm going to go through the basics of how to create a television or TV style news package. This video is aimed at absolute beginners to the program, so if you haven't used Adobe Premiere Pro before, you're in the right place. However, just be aware that I've actually made two other videos that you should watch before this. One of those is how to create a new project, and also another video where I go through the basic layout of this program and also some really handy keyboard shortcuts. So I'm going to assume you've watched both of those videos before you dive into this one on how to actually cut a TV news package. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you just the start of a TV news package that I shot myself in Brazil. It's about Brazilian music. This band kindly let me film them as they rehearsed. I'll include a link to their music in the YouTube description in case you're interested in checking them out. But I'll just play the first minute or so of this TV news package. We can see how it went to air, and then I'm going to try and recreate it in Adobe Premiere Pro. So let's have a look.
This Brazilian band, Samuca e a Selva, is attempting to revive a lost legacy. Their style, a mix of funk, samba and Afrobeat, harks back to a golden era of Brazilian music.
We are kind of rescuing old values of our music. You know, we're trying to listen to great masters at the past and do it in the present.
But the band isn't just reviving an old sound, they're also resurrecting an industry because they decided to release their latest album on a vinyl record manufactured in Brazil.
The vinyl got something like, it's pure music. And there's a thing you can touch it, you can feel it, you can smell it. The whole experience to listen to a vinyl, it's different.
While the vinyl revival has been in full swing in the West for a decade, in Brazil, it's only getting started. The country used...
All right, I'll stop it there. So as you can see, that is like a traditional television news style package. There's a couple of elements that I want to talk about. The first is what we're seeing visually. We have what's called overlay. This is when I shot the band rehearsing for this part of the story. And then we also have visuals of the interviews, right? In terms of audio, we have the natural sound of the band playing when we see the overlay. We also have the sound of my voice, which is the reporter voice reading a script. And finally, we also have the audio of the interviewees. So there's two different visual elements going on, three different audio elements going on. Let's see how that looks in Adobe Premiere Pro. So I've tried to recreate just the first 20 seconds of that package using my raw footage. And this is what it looks like when we create it in Premiere Pro. Let's play it again and have a look.
This Brazilian band, Samuca e a Selva, is attempting to revive a lost legacy. Their style, a mix of funk, samba and Afrobeat, harks back to a golden era of Brazilian music.
We are kind of rescuing old values of our music. You know, we're trying to rescue, or trying to...
So I'll stop it there. So basically what we have is under V1, which is video track 1, we have the overlay of what I filmed of the band rehearsing. In A2, I have the natural sound of the camera tape of the band playing. In Audio 1, A1, I have my voice, which is green. And then over here, we have under V2, video track 2, we have the interview. Now, I know that looks really confusing, right, to create this kind of puzzle, but I'm going to go through every single step for you and explain how I got there. I'll break the video into three parts. I'm going to first off just create the basic structure. In the second video, I'll talk more about some advanced audio editing techniques. And in the third video, I'll talk about how to create a little name graphic like this for your interviewees. All right, so let's start from scratch and try and recreate this again. So I'm going to go File, New, Sequence. Just click OK, it doesn't matter. And let's give this sequence a name that makes more sense. So let's call it Band Edit. Okay, cool. And it's completely blank, as you should be used to. All right, so the first thing I need to do is I need to drag some video that I shot on the camera over to the timeline here, and that's going to set the parameters of this project to be, I guess, compatible with the specifications of the camera I was using. So I've got here some footage that I shot for this story. I'm just going to drag it over, and what's going to happen is it's going to say this clip does not match the sequence's settings. That's because I haven't actually set the settings for this sequence yet. So I'm going to go change sequence settings. Basically, that is going to set the parameters of this project to be the same visual elements that I used on the camera. Once I've done that, and it's a really important step to do, just to drag in some video, I'm actually going to delete that video now. Why? Because what I prefer to do when editing and creating something like this is I prefer to get all the audio correct first and then do the video second. So I'm going to ignore the video that I shot for the moment, and I'm going to drag in some audio. This here is a WAV file of my voice reading that news script. I'm going to drag that in, and as you can see, when I drag it in, now V1 has nothing there because we're only working in the audio tracks now, A1. I also really like to actually see the waveforms as I edit. So between A1 and A2, I'm going to click and drag this down so I can actually see what I'm doing here. So this is my voice from that television script, and if I press play,
This Brazilian band, Samuca e a Selva, is attempting to revive a lost legacy. Their style, a mix of funk, samba and Afrobeat, harks back to a golden era of Brazilian music. But the band isn't just reviving an old sound.
So as you can hear, that is the first couple of sentences of my script, and then it moves on to the second sentences and so forth, and that is the entire story. There's breaks in between where I've taken an extended pause. That's so I can remind myself that in those breaks, that's where I'm going to put my interviewee grabs. Now, you could probably also hear at the start, I coughed. So I need to, the first step in cutting a news package is I need to clean up this audio and get all the different sections all clean and nice and ready to go. So I'm going to zoom in with the plus sign, and first off, get rid of that cough, because that is a terrible way to start a news package. A few different ways I can get rid of the cough and clean up this audio. The first is by using the razor tool, which is this icon here. If I click that, I can just make a clean, simple cut at the start of my voice where I actually want to start, and go back to the selection tool, select the part of the audio that I do not want, and press delete, and then it will disappear. And then I have a clean start.
This Brazilian band,
without that annoying cough. Another way that I can achieve the same result, I'm going to press Command Z just to go and undo and get back to the start. Another way I can do it is by moving the cursor over to the start of the clip. The cursor goes red, and I can drag this back to achieve the same result
this Brazilian
and have a clean start. So I'm going to move this over to the start of the timeline now. The next thing is I need to do the same at the end of that first sentence.
back to a golden era of Brazilian music.
And I will stop it right at the end of my voice there. I can tell it's the end of my voice because I can see how the waveform is working. I'm going to get that razor tool, make another snip, go back to the selection tool, and I'm going to do the same thing for the second part of my voice. So move this over. This is the second part of my voice. Drag this across. Do the same thing at the end of the second part of my voice. Snip. And so forth and so on. I'm not going to do it for the whole story because this is just a tutorial video, so I'm going to delete that part for now anyway. Okay, so that is the first step, is just getting your voice, all the sections clean and ready to go, and do that for your whole story. Next, we need to introduce the grabs. So I'm going to go into my video folder, and I have here two grabs. I'll just drag the first one in, and I can just put it anywhere. And now you can see that we are working with audio track 1, which is the audio of his grab, but also we have video track 1 now because we can actually see something. So there's vision of the interview or grab as well. Let's have a listen.
Like we are kind of rescuing old values of our music. You know, we're trying to rescue, or trying to listen to great masters at the past and do it in the present. You know, like not copying them, but
I'm gonna end the grab with
in the present. You know,
in the present. I think that's where I'm gonna stop the grab. And at the start,
like we are kind of rescuing.
I'm going to start with we are. So again, I'm just concerned with the audio at the moment here. That's really what I'm paying attention to. So I'm going to zoom in again just so I can clean up this grab. So I want to start at we are. I just have to see visually where the we are starts.
We are kind of rescuing.
We are kind of.
We are kind of.
I can see it starts there. So I'm just going to drag this over to get a clean start.
We are kind of rescuing old value.
That's good. And then the same with the end of the grab.
And do it in the present, you know, like, and do it in the present. You know?
I want to have do it in the present as the end. Use the razor tool, snip, delete the second part. Let's have a listen, see if this is a clean end.
And do it in the present. And do it in the present.
Good. That's good. So, and then I am going to just drag this into that gap because this is my first grab and it goes after the first part of my voice. I'll just move the second part of my voice over, drag this grab to the first part of my voice. And something I should mention as I do that, you see how when I drag it over, it kind of snaps into place. It's like a magnet. It just connects between these two parts of the clip. That's because I have the magnet snap tool on. If I had that off, it wouldn't do that, and it's much harder to get precise in terms of putting your clips together and not like overlaying each other. So make sure you have snap on. Snaps together, and then finally, I just need to make sure that that transition in terms of audio between my voice and his grab is sounds good.
An era of Brazilian music.
We are kind of rescuing.
Sounds good to me. I'll just listen to it once more.
Of Brazilian music.
We are kind of rescuing.
Yep, that's great. And then I will put my second voice at the end of his grab, and let's listen again, see if it has a smooth transition.
Do it in the present.
But the band isn't just...
Do it in the present.
But the band isn't just reviving...
It's probably a little too close for comfort. I generally like... more or less maybe half a second between the changeover between different human voices, just so the audience can recognize that the voice has changed. It just takes us, sometimes if it's too close, it just doesn't sound right. So I'm going to just move this over a little bit.
Present.
But the band...
Present.
But the band...
Maybe one more frame.
Present.
But the band is...
Yep, that sounds better to me. Okay, and then you would do the same thing again with any other grabs. So I have grab number 2, you would move that over. Again, you would listen for the second grab, clean it up, attach it to the voice, and so on and so forth, and keep going and going and going and going until you have your entire package in terms of its audio completely set. Now, there's an advantage to doing it this way. There's two advantages in terms of focusing on the audio first. The first advantage is at the end of this process, you're going to know exactly how long your package is. That's really important if you were to work in a television news environment because everything's done to a clock. So we need to be extremely precise in how long our stories are. If you're not working for TV news, if you're just doing this for online and length doesn't really matter as much, then there's still an advantage because it's so much easier to put vision on top of your voice as opposed to putting the vision down first and then trying to read your voice to match the vision. It won't create a very natural read. So read it first, edit your voice first, edit all the audio first, and then we will put the vision on second. All right, speaking of vision, let's do it. So I'm going to delete this second grab because again, it's just a tutorial. This is enough space for us to work with. I need to put some vision on top of my voice. First rule is that whatever vision I select needs to match what I'm talking about in my script. So let's again just listen to the start of my script just to see what the topic is.
This Brazilian band, Samuca e a Selva, is attempting to revive a lost legacy.
Right, so probably the most important thing visually that I'm talking about there is that I mentioned the band, right? So obviously I need a shot of the band. It's also going to make far more visual sense if I start with a shot showing the whole band as opposed to one instrument, because I'm describing the band itself. So I am going to go into my video. I have some overlay here of some wide shots of the band rehearsing, lots of shots. And I would generally just scrub through this and find something that I like. I kind of like the opening shot actually, and actually that is what in the professional version that went to air, that's what they started with as well, was the wide shot of the band playing. So let's do the same thing. So I'm going to use this shot as my opening shot. Now, in terms of overlaying and getting this video on top of that audio, there's a couple of different ways to do it. There's the easy way and the hard way. I'm going to show you both. The easy way is probably the best way to start off as a total beginner to editing news packages in Premiere Pro. The hard way is what professionals would do. So I'll show you the easy way first, and then, yeah, I'll show you the hard way second if you're interested. Okay, so generally each shot in a television news package is going to probably be around 3 seconds or so. Online video is often done at a lot faster of a pace, but TV is slightly slower, generally 3 seconds a shot. So what I'm going to do is I am going to just play this for roughly 3 seconds, do it by feel, and find an out point. Okay, I'm happy about there. So I kind of want this to be my opening shot. I'm going to get that razor tool, snip it, and then I'm going to move that shot over to the start of my package. However, there's an immediate problem. You can see that as I move this over, it's going to overlay my voice, as in I'm going to lose audio because we now have the audio of the band playing and the audio of my voice. What I need to do is I need to start using audio track number 2. Drag that down to here. So I start using audio track number 2. I'm also going to drag this down between A2 and A3 so I can see audio track 2 clearly. And now I'll drag this over. And what I have is video of the band playing, audio of my voice, audio of the band playing, and it should all fit seamlessly. The one problem is I can already tell, because I can see with the waveforms, this band is going to sound a lot louder than my voice. So I'm going to actually deal with volume at the end of this video, but let's just, for the moment, introduce volume a little bit. I'm going to reduce the volume of this band so I can still hear my voice. So the way you do that is there's a white line here. There's also a white line here. That's your volume control. So on that white line, I click, drag, move it down, and I'm going to reduce it by -20 decibels. And hopefully then we can hear my voice and also listen to the band playing.
This Brazilian band, Samuca e a Selva.
That's good enough for the moment. We'll fix up audio a bit more later. All right, so let's just see if this is a good start.
This Brazilian band, Samuca e a Selva, is attempting to revive a lost legacy.
That's good. So I need to now find a second shot to go after the first shot. Generally after a wide shot like this, showing the location, introducing the main subjects, I'm going to now go with a close-up just to give some visual diversity. I have here another video of all my close-ups that I shot during this recording session. And I have a close-up of the singer. I'm now scrubbing through. Drummer. Guitarist, etc. Let's go with the singer, I think. Okay, that's good. I will cut that, do exactly the same process as before, drag this audio down to audio 2. As you can see, I'm zooming in and out constantly of my timeline here. It's really important. Drag this over all the way, and see, now it's starting to get hard to see, so I'm going to zoom in again at the start, drag it over, and let's again see how this wide shot goes to the close-up and whether it's smooth. Again, I'm going to reduce that volume so you can actually hear my voice.
This Brazilian band, Samuca e a Selva, is attempting to revive a lost legacy. Their style, a mix of funk, samba.
I'll stop that second shot there, and let's get a third shot to put here before we see the grab. Now, the way I've been doing this, as in overlaying my voice, has been the easy way. Let's show the hard way. The reason why you might want to attempt to do the hard way is, as you can see, the more I start to edit this project using this method of just dragging video across and doing my edits here and then dragging it back, the projects can get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and more complicated and more complicated. It gets really cumbersome. So there's another way, and that's the hard way. So I'm going to delete these just to clean up this project. And what I'm going to do is start using this source monitor at the top left. There's an advantage to using it, and you'll see. So I want to set another shot here. Let's go back into my wide shots, and I'm going to double click on the wide shots now. And that will make it appear in the source monitor. I can do the same scrubbing as before, like I was doing down here, but instead I'm now doing it up here. And I'm going to find another shot, a third shot that I like. I like this shot, where it goes from the drummer to the singer. Okay, so I want to have that shot go down here. The way that you do that is I need to set an in and an out point here to tell Adobe Premiere Pro, hey, there's a section of this timeline that I want filled with material from the source monitor. So down here, I'm going to line up my blue cursor right at the start of this gap. And the way you do that is you press the up key on the keyboard, because up will go to wherever your cuts are, down goes to wherever your cuts are as well. So I press the up key to get to that cut, and I press I, which is set an in point. You can see it's highlighted everything after that in point. I then press down on the keyboard to go to another cut, as in the end of the highlighted section that I want, and I press O to highlight that little bit. Okay, so I've set an in and an out point. I've highlighted this area that I want filled. Then I go up into the source monitor, and I need to, again, get this cursor to exactly where I want my in point to be, probably there. And I press I again. As you can see, I has set a start point, an in point. It's highlighted everything after. I don't need to set an out point in this situation because I have an out point here. And then I just need to tell Adobe, hey, I want as much of this as you can fit to go down here. The way you do that is you use these insert and overwrite tools. Now, if I press insert, it's not going to do what I wanted. It's just going to insert it and not overwrite anything. I'll press Command Z. So in this situation, I need to press overwrite, and then magically it fills that gap. The reason also, if you're wondering why the audio of this source monitor appeared in audio track 2 as opposed to just going over my voice in audio track 1, it's because I had the source monitor set to audio track 2. This is the source monitor audio options here. So you can change where the audio appears on your timeline by selecting either A1, A2, or A3. And I had it set to A2. You can also do the same with video if you wanted to. Okay, now let's just have a look at that. Let's go from shot 2 to shot 3.
Legacy. Their style, a mix of funk, samba.
Oh, audio. Move that down. Okay.
Style, a mix of funk, samba, and Afrobeat, harks back to a golden era of Brazilian music.
We are kind of rescuing.
Okay, not too bad. So you can see what I called the hard way is not actually that hard, and it has distinct advantages because I was able to fill that gap without having to use all this extra space to play around and try and really like get really close up here, trying to get exact measurements and stuff, because I was using the source monitor and I was using in and out points. So if you can, I'd recommend using the source monitor to edit. But if you find that process, some people do, a bit difficult, then you can just drag your shots over to this side of the screen and use the razor tool and cut and move, etc. Right, so I now have the basics of the start of this package filled in. I have the grabs. The last thing that I'm going to do before I stop this first video is just fix up the audio levels, just in terms of volume. Basically, let's have a go back to the start, and I'm just going to explain what this audio monitor does.
This Brazilian band, Samuca e a Selva.
For television broadcast, we generally like our audio levels, our volume, to be between -6 and -12 decibels. Internet and YouTube tends to go a bit higher, but I'm just going to stick with the broadcast standard and try and get it around there.
Is attempting to revive.
At the moment, we're going about -18, so it's too low. So I need to increase that. I can already see my voice is probably not loud enough, so I'm going to drag this white line up all the way +6 decibels. Let's see what happens now.
Selva is attempting to revive a lost legacy.
Still not loud enough. It's hitting -12, but I want it a bit louder, which means that using this white line method is not going to be loud enough. I'll move it back down to 0 and I'll show you another method. You can right click on any audio file and you get all these options. You can ignore all of them for the moment except for audio gain. In audio gain, I can adjust the gain by more than 6 if I want to. So if 6 got me to about -12, I'm going to, let's say, increase it by 9. And now let's have a listen.
This Brazilian band, Samuca e a Selva, is attempting to revive a lost legacy.
I'm going to go one more. So I'm going to increase it by another 1.
And Samuca e a Selva is attempting to revive a lost legacy.
Yeah, that sounds good. Okay, now I'll just see how my voice goes with the band playing.
Revive a lost legacy. Their style, a mix of funk, samba, and Afrobeat, harks back to a golden era of...
I actually think that sounds pretty good. I might just reduce the band volume a little bit more. If you need to get precise with your reductions as well, you can actually use the same process by right-clicking, going to audio gain, and just putting a minus. So I think I'm going to reduce each of those by another -2. Remember, I've already done -20 by using the white line, but I'm going to just do an extra -2 just to make it slightly softer, because my voice is more important in terms of this story to relay the information.
Ia Selva is attempting to revive a lost legacy. Their style, a mix of funk,
Much better. And the final thing is that you just need to make sure that those levels are then compatible and equal to whatever the levels are for the interviewee grab.
Find rescuing old values of our music. You know, we're trying to rescue.
So he's a little soft as well. So I'm going to increase him maybe by about 4. Let's have a listen now. From my voice.
Music.
We are kind of rescuing old values.
Cool, not too bad.
Era of Brazilian music.
We are kind of rescuing old values.
So once you have done that, and obviously you do it across your whole package, so it should take you about 6 times as long as what it's taken me, then your rough cut is complete, but your task isn't finished. Just because you have a rough cut doesn't mean it is as good as it can be. So I'm going to introduce another video next where I'm going to go through some more advanced audio techniques in terms of really making your news package stand out. And yeah, I'll see you in the second part of this tutorial later.